Hi there, this is Hans from Siegecraft Electronics. In a previous video, I showed you how we replaced the displays in my roller games pinball with a new set of LEDs from Wolfpack Designs. Today we're going to do the same with my Black Knight, which is a bit different setup because with the older machines you're looking at 5 individual displays plus a control board. So we'll show you how we go through that particular style of displays and how to replace those as well. Now, with your earlier Williams machines, one of the bigger differences you're going to see is that they have individual score displays for every player, plus a separate display for your ball in play and credit count. This is different than your later WPC machines with the dot matrix or your System 11s and such with the alphanumeric displays, which use a single display for all of your information, your player scores, and so on and so forth. A lot of this is because, of course, they were trying to replicate the earlier electromechanical machines that had all your separate score reels. And part of it, too, is this is just basically an earlier evolution where you didn't have as much information available, so the separate numeric displays were appropriate. On this machine, what you can see as far as what's actually failed on it, the Black Knight will play you. Yeah, of course he will. Anyway, like I was saying, on this particular machine, the individual score displays, a couple of them are starting to show a lot of issues. As you can see on the player 3, which is on the right side for you guys, a couple of the digits are completely missing. This is related to that specific display. I moved it around to make sure it kind of followed along as well. The player 4 is a little harder to see in this case, but it's very burnt, and the individual segments are starting to fade. Same as well with the ball in play credit display, where some of the display segments are starting to fade as well. So in this case, a full replacement is kind of required for pretty much all the individual segments. And going with an LED unit, one of the critical things to remember is that if you're switching from plasmas like this to an LED unit, you have to do it as a full system. You can't replace individual displays. As opposed to if you were keeping the plasma system and just replacing individual segments, you can replace just those segments. With the power turned off, first step, of course, is going to be to remove the back glass. If your back glass is locked, on this generation, your System 7, go back to your System 3 Williams machines and a lot of your EMs, the key is actually, the lock is actually up here on the side of the back box. Realistically, these things are such a pain in the ass and they never work. Chances are yours is not going to be locked, but in case it is, most likely the key is going to be located inside your coin door as with any other pinball machine. Now, this being a full back glass, I am going to lay out a towel here right underneath because I have dropped these before and they're tempered and they get everywhere. So you do definitely want to be careful, especially on this generation machine. This bigger glass is a lot heavier than your WPCs with a plexiglass translight. This is full glass, pretty thick. So lift straight up, tilt out, get a good grip on it because these suckers are heavy, and then lay down in someplace safe. With the back glass removed, you have full access to all your individual displays, as located here on the front of the lamp panel. The actual control board for them is going to be on the inside of your lamp panel, right in here. You do, like I said, have to swap all of these when doing an LED display swap, so we're going to get going on that right away. Now, as always, before you start disconnecting wires, I do recommend that you take a picture of the assembly to make sure you have all the information you need for a reassembly. And I find for these, nut driver typically works better than a screwdriver, as these are actually on a stud with nuts exposed as opposed to your standard Phillips screwdriver. Another nice thing to notice is that on these machines, typically you are going to have some kind of printed information there as well, showing you where all your connections go, but you can't always guarantee those are going to be present. And on these, you do have a nut and lock washer if everything is still as original. It comes off nice and easy with the right tools. Now, the master display boards, very rarely have I actually seen these fail. The issue is almost always on the individual plasma displays. But because of the cost of them, they're really not a viable option for replacing the plasma displays unless you can find a good deal on used pieces. The new ones are just far too expensive if you can even find them available anywhere. Then, of course, you take all your connectors off, which I probably should have done before I actually disconnected the board, but it's not a problem. These connectors are all very easy to remove. But again, because of the age on these Molex connectors, particularly the edge connectors, you do want to be careful. And because these edge connectors are not the same as your standard Molex connectors that are in your Williams machines, you do have to make sure to have these available, just because they're not what you're probably going to have on your bench. Then we're going to go ahead and install the new master display board. As with my roller games, I did decide to go with the Wolfpack Designs LED displays. Everything looks pretty much the same, so this is just going to install exactly as the original was removed. Ribbon connectors will install back in place. Now these do not necessarily have keying pins, so you do have to be a little more careful in aligning them properly. Edge connectors will pop on. I always did find it interesting that Williams went with edge connectors on these boards as opposed to the standard connectors and everything else. And your master display control board is installed. Now we're going to go ahead and replace the individual score displays. Your player 1 through 4 are all identical 7-digit displays, so it doesn't really have to match up exactly. You just use one of the 7-digit displays that came in your replacement set. The difference is going to be on your ball in play, your credit display. This is a 4-digit display with 2 pairs, so you have to make sure to use the correct one in that particular location. This does take a long time, so I did have to kind of accelerate it a little bit for, filming purposes. Anyway, all the displays are swapped in, new master control. So let's give it a try, see how they look. And very nice. All of my displays working now, all nice, good amber color. In this case, I did opt to go with the amber instead of any other colors to replicate the original plasma display look, just because I felt it did work very well with the Black Knight artwork. Now let's get the back glass back on and finish this thing up. All right, pop back in fine that time. There we go, nice bright orange. All the individual segments are nice and good, crisp, looking nice. Much better than it has since I've had the machine, actually. Some of the other benefits you're going to see with these LED displays, especially in these older machines with the actual glass back glasses on them, they're so close to the display that the heat of the plasma units would a lot of times actually bake the back glass and start damaging the artwork. You do need to be a little careful though, because these displays are a bit thicker than the originals, so you might want to possibly, depending on how your lamp board aligns, consider putting smaller spacers onto your lamp board to kind of set the back displays back a little bit, protect your back glass a bit better. But in this case, it wasn't really an issue as long as I made sure the lamp port was closed fully. So I've been pretty happy with this, and I hope you guys are too. Hopefully this will let you guys know how easy this is to actually do this kind of repair work on your own machine. Swap in some new displays, bring a little new life to it. And it is something really you can do yourself as long as you have a couple of tools laying around and the gumption to do it. Thanks for watching. This is Hans from Siegecraft Electronics, and I'll catch you next time.